Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to episode 8 of the Josh's Dartistry podcast. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's introduce you to the people that are currently in the room with me. As usual, on my right, ladies and gentlemen, the man himself, it's Josh Gorton. How are you, Josh?
Very well, thanks, John. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Been a busy old week as ever. Plenty of darts for us to watch recently.
Yeah, we won't be short of talking points tonight. That's for sure.
And ladies and gentlemen, let's just cut the music because I have sad news. Unfortunately, normally when we're sat around this table, Josh, I look across to my left-hand side, and there is the man we've all come to know and love.
No.
No, anyway, I'm not sure about love, but the man who does our odds for us, brings us news items, challenge Josh.
Yep, indeed.
He's not here.
No, he's away.
He's away. As we mentioned in the last episode, and Neil mentioned it himself actually, he's away on business in India. So for those Neil Connor fans amongst us who only tune in to hear Neil's dulcet tones, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed this evening because, Josh, we haven't got Neil here.
No, we haven't, but we've got ourselves a replacement.
We have got a ready-made replacement. Now, for regular listeners to the Josh's Dartistry podcast, you might recognise this young man. He contributes quite a lot to our Q&A section. He's always sending us questions for us to answer. He's also featured on Lord of the Board. I can't remember what he got. We'll ask him in a minute, see if he can remember what he got on Lord of the Board. Don't think it was great. But ladies and gentlemen, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you, coming off the subs bench this evening, it's Mr. Jordan Harrison. Jordan, how are you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, John. How are you?
I'm all right. Welcome to the show, mate. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to try and bring Neil's positivity.
Sorry, do you know Neil Connor? Have you ever met him before?
Yeah, he's a miserable man.
He is a miserable man, but that's why we love him so. Listen, Jordan, as I said, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on your show. Darts fan, yes?
Yeah, I'm more of a casual darts fan.
Casual darts fan, so sort of like an armchair fan.
Yeah, I watch the big tournaments, but I couldn't tell you much about the Pro Tour events.
Well, that's all right. That's what we've got Josh here for. So Josh is the man in the know. Now, obviously, I know you through cricket. We play cricket together. For Hoddesdon Fours. Did you listen to the cricket debate that we had on the last show about who was the best player?
Yeah, I did. It's funny you should say that because I put out a tweet soon after,
right,
to see what everyone at the cricket.
Oh, you
club thought.
You did a Twitter poll, didn't you?
Yeah, I did a Twitter poll for our shoddy Twitter, shoddy CC.
Yeah,
and the results came back, and it came out a resounding win for you, John.
And what percentage did I achieve there, Jordan?
I think it was either 46% or 48%. So,
well, that's pretty resounding, isn't it? Let's be honest. There's no. We don't need a recount there, do we, Josh?
No, we don't, John. I mean, it might have something to do with the fact you have about 11 Twitter accounts at your disposal.
What?
But I don't want to speculate.
How dare you? So, yeah, Jordan, I obviously know you through cricket, but I believe you and Josh are old school friends.
Yeah, we went to school. We went to primary school together since the age of about 3. So.
Wow. So you've known this man a very long time.
Yeah. It's been hard to put up with him sometimes, but, you know.
But it must be a delight to see him, as a knee-high to a grasshopper, develop into the wonderful young man and darting expert that we see before us now.
Yeah, he's done very well with his darts, and I'm very impressed.
What was he like at school? Was he a bit of a teacher's pet, or was he sort of hanging around with the cool kids smoking cigarettes down the alleyway and getting suspended?
He was exactly the same as he was now. Nervous wreck.
You're waiting to hear what he's going to say.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. Okay, well, listen, Jordan, a very, very warm welcome to the show, and it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. And listen, if all goes well, and you perform well this evening, we could, Josh, what do you reckon? We could get rid of Neil and give him the old Spanish Archer.
It's a ruthless business, the podcast industry, John.
It is. If he's not going to make himself available on a regular basis, then we're going to have to find an alternative.
Indeed.
And if Jordan fits the bill, then we might have to pull the trigger on that one.
Yep, I'll leave that to you.
Listen, it's after midnight in India, right? I'm not too sure on what part of India he's in. I know he's staying in a very posh hotel with work, right? And he texted me last night. He was working quite late last night. He texted me about 1:45 and he'd only just got home from work. Should we give him a ring?
Why not?
Should
Go for it.
Should we get him on the phone? Right, hang on. I need to unplug a couple of things. Bear with me. put that fader up. Let's see if we can get Neil on the phone. If he's asleep, he's going to be furious. He's going to be absolutely furious. But
when is he not?
This could be either great radio or something that I'm going to have to edit out completely because it's going to be full of expletives. Right, Neil Connor, call. Here we go. Right, it's calling. Tension. This is probably going to cost me a fortune, by the way, phone in India.
Yeah.
It's not connecting yet. You can cut the tension with a knife in this room. Hang on.
Neil Connor.
Can't take your call right
he's
now.
not available.
Let's leave him a message.
Let's leave him a
And when
message.
you're done, press hash or just hang up.
Hi Neil, my name's John. You may have heard of me. I'm one of the co-hosts of the Josh's Dartistry podcast. I'm just ringing to let you know that you have been fired from your job as a co-host on the Josh's Dartistry podcast and replaced by a new kid on the block, Mr. Jordan Harrison. Josh has signed off on that. He's absolutely delighted. We'll be making a Twitter announcement a bit later on, and your P45 is in the post. Josh, have you got any goodbyes to say to Neil?
Just hope he has a very nice holiday and, well, we might not see him soon.
Jordan, anything to add?
Yeah, I was just saying thanks for the job, and I'll see you soon, Neil.
Right, let's hang up. Thanks, Neil. Hope you're well, and we look forward to having you back on the show soon. Bye. He's going to be absolutely furious about that. Okay, let's move on. Let's see what we've got planned for this evening's show. So, Josh, as I said earlier, we've had a lot of darts on the television. We've been treated to some absolutely great darts, some great matches, great tournaments, great winners, some not so great losers. But I think before we discuss any of that, we probably should have a chat about the news that broke yesterday, I believe.
Yesterday morning, yep.
I'm going to let you take the mantle and tell us the first thing that we're going to be discussing.
Well, I think we can only really start with the news that the PDC broke at around 11 o'clock yesterday morning, the news that Raymond van Barneveld will retire from professional darts after the 2019 to 2020 World Championship.
Now, Josh, I know someone who works as a counsellor. They do deal with emotional pain and hurt, and if you want their phone number, I can put you in touch.
That's very kind of you, John.
All jokes aside, massive news breaking yesterday with regards to Raymond van Barneveld's impending retirement. We'll discuss it at length in a short while. Don't know if it came as a major shock to all of us around the table. I think there've been murmurings for the last sort of 12 to 18 months that this might be on the cards, particularly when you look at his sort of schedule now that he sticks to with his darts. But even so, whether it was a shock or not, this is massive news. To follow up the loss of Phil Taylor with the loss of another absolute darting great, Raymond van Barneveld, that's some absolutely massive news, Josh.
I mean, obviously, Taylor and Barney, they played about 85 times. It's one of the most iconic rivalries in darts. And obviously, it was the end of an era with Phil Taylor last year. And with Barneveld, it really does signal kind of a new generation coming through. It's a sad time for darts, but I think it probably comes at the right time for Raymond.
Jordan, were you surprised to hear the announcement yesterday?
No, not really. I think his performances have dropped off a bit in recent years, and his participation in tournaments has also lowered. So I don't think it's a shock, but it is a sad day for darts.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we'll come back to that, and I'm sure we'll have a big conversation regarding Barney. But Josh, as I mentioned, there is lots of darts to discuss. I think the last time we recorded, we were just on the first night of the World Series. There was a couple of games actually going on while we were recording that I remember us commenting on. So I think we'll do a roundup, won't we? A very quick, brief roundup on the World Series.
Seems like an age ago. For all the drama we've had recently, it does seem like an age ago. Yeah, we'll reflect on the World Series and obviously more recently the Grand Slam of Darts, which concluded last Sunday.
Yeah, plenty of talking points from the Grand Slam of Darts,
Definitely.
wasn't there? Did you catch much of the Grand Slam of Darts at all, Jordan?
No, not really. I saw the final, so I've got a bit to say about that.
Okay, excellent stuff. Okay, after we finished having a chat about those two tournaments, we're going to be hearing from one of the PDC's premier players, Josh. I believe you managed to secure an interview. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, yesterday I had the pleasure of speaking with two-time world champion Adrian Lewis, which was brilliant, obviously discussing his year so far. He's performed well on the Pro Tour, obviously looking ahead to the World Championship, where he's bidding to win a third world title, so it's a pleasure to speak to Adrian. He was very insightful, very interesting, so that'll be coming up later. Yeah,
big fan of Adi Lewis. I'm sure he had plenty to say, so we'll have a little listen to that in a while. We always like to preview the events that are coming up, and I think the next event on the darting calendar, Josh, is the Players' Championship, yeah?
Yeah, Players' Championship finals coming from Minehead. It's a 64-man tournament. Obviously 2 stages, a 3-day event, so plenty of darts coming up. Ian White, top seed there.
And then after that, we will be moving on to our regular interactive part of the show, Lord of the Board. Now, Josh, are you still recovering from your performance last week?
Yeah, I've tried to kind of erase the disappointment from my memory, but we'll see a new name on the block tonight.
Yeah, we've got a new person stepping up to take on the challenge this evening. Jordan, you've already appeared on Lord of the Board, I believe, and scored. Can you remember?
It's got to be in the late teens, I would have thought.
Don't quite think it was. I'll tell you what, if I didn't get in the late teens, you certainly didn't get in the late teens. Maybe we'll have to have a listen back to yours. But Josh, you said you thought it might be 9 or something, did you?
Who for?
For Jordan.
No, I think
it was lower
7,
than...
I think.
Oh,
I didn't
dear.
get the practice Josh got. He had about 3 months practice.
It didn't do me any good.
Okay, so we'll have Lord of the Board a little bit later on. We will also, of course, be having our next instalment of Challenge Josh. Now, obviously, Neil being away hasn't been able to contribute. So I've done the questions for Challenge Josh. How does that make you feel, Josh?
Well, Neil's very harsh, so
He is.
I'm sure you've adopted that similar approach, but we'll find out later on.
Well, what I don't want to happen is to Neil to come back to this show for probably episode number 9 and tear a couple of strips off me for taking it too easy on you. So, yeah, I do feel I have to follow in Neil's footsteps. So I've organised a little something for you, Josh, and we'll see how you get on with that a little bit later. Josh, some news items as well I think we'll be touching on.
Yeah, plenty of news from the Grand Slam of Darts. Obviously, as we mentioned, loads of talking points, lots of controversy, and also a bit of news from the BDO and, of course, the Women's World Championship qualifiers. We had the first of those, the rest of the world qualifier, so we'll be reporting back from that.
Excellent. And Josh, as ever, you sent out a tweet asking our loyal listeners if they had any questions they'd like to ask the panel. Have we had much of a response?
Yeah, I think we've had 5 or 6 questions, but all very interesting, so we'll be responding to them later on as well.
Well, that concludes the agenda for this evening. Jordan, once again, welcome along and looking forward to your input. And enjoy episode 8 of the JDP. You're listening to the Josh's Dartistry podcast. Don't forget you can check us out on Facebook, the Josh's Dartistry page. You can also follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry. And you can also go to our website, www.joshisdartistry.com, for all the latest news, blogs and information on the world of darts. Don't forget you can also call us and leave us a message on our voicemail box. That's 07739 738 329. That's 07739 738 329. Call our voicemail box, leave us a message, leave us a question, and we may play it on the show. Now back to the show.
Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.
Right, come on in, let's kick it off. Raymond van Barneveld, Josh, talk to me.
Yeah, obviously sad news from the world of darts yesterday. I think, as you referred to, it wasn't a massive shock. I think I kind of seen it coming over the last 12 months, but it's still, when offered the announcement, it still kind of hits you at the time. It's a real shame for darts, but I think Raymond seemed kind of relieved, the weight off his shoulders really, and he can look forward now to his final year in the circuit.
I think the reason I say it wasn't a massive shock is not particularly because of his form or the amount of tournaments he does or doesn't enter. But if you look at the sort of top 10 to 12 players in the world currently, Barney is of an age now where he's seeing a lot of young up and coming players climbing up the ranks, and he's one of the older guys on the circuit, and I suppose there has to come a time in everyone's career when it's time to hang the darts up.
Definitely, I think he's proven this year, even though he hasn't had the best years by his own standards, he's still reached the Masters final, a World Series final, World Series semi. He's won the World Cup with Michael van Gerwen, but he's not able to produce his top level consistently, which is a source of frustration for him. We saw at the World Series he beat Michael van Gerwen, but couldn't replicate that later on. And I think he's just taken the decision, really. He can't compete regularly on the Pro Tour with his diabetes. He struggles with the travelling. And if you want to maintain a top position in the world of darts, you have to play the Tour now. So I think it's kind of a culmination of all these factors. But he's still got 14 months left of his career, and he's still got 2 shots at winning a 6th world title, which I think is his main focus now.
A word you used there, Josh, which I think is quite key, is you said frustration. He feels frustrated. It was interesting to note that in his press release regarding his retirement, he said that, I'm a winner and I'm used to lifting trophies, and I can't do that at the moment. You could sense the frustration in his tone when he said that.
Yeah, because I think he's beaten all of the top players on TV this year. Van Gerwen, Anderson, beaten Peter Wright lots of occasions, but he struggled to be able to kind of maintain that consistency over a whole tournament, and obviously that's what he's been used to in the BDO and the PDC. But I think he just struggles with that. I think the fatigue is a massive factor in that, and it's a gruelling schedule now on the PDC Pro Tour. That's why Phil Taylor retired, the schedule. And I think obviously similar happened to Raymond. As ever, Josh, there was, when it was announced, social media went into absolute meltdown from the darting community. Lots of comments on his retirement and a number of factors. The first thing, as you mentioned there, he's going to sort of have a 13, 14-month farewell tour, if you like. A lot of people, I say a lot of people, some people were questioning the length of the sort of farewell tour, saying that we'd just seen a very, very similar situation with Phil Taylor. And people asking the question whether or not they felt it right that we have another sort of farewell tour for such a big player, or whether he should just retire immediately and put it to bed. How do you feel about that? I think it depends on the player, really. I think as fans, they will want the opportunity. They'll know now it's Raymond's last year. They'll want the opportunity to see him for one final time. For example, if they, if he is in the Premier League next year, in Rotterdam, for example, the fans want to go and. Well, that's a major factor, isn't it? Does Barney qualify for the Premier League next year? It's a tough one. I mean, I think it's going to be one of the most competitive years for the Premier League, really. I mean, there's so many candidates for it. I don't think he's a certainty by any means, but he is one of the fans' favourite. We have to remember that Sky have 2 wildcard picks, and he is probably the most popular figure in terms of the fans. So that's a massive factor, but there's no guarantees. And Jordan, as I always say with the Premier League, especially with the wildcard picks from Sky and the PDC, like it or not, the bottom line is money. The PDC want to get as many bums on seats. Sky obviously want to get as many viewers as possible watching their product. And if that means putting Raymond van Barneveld in for one more time because they know it's going to sell, who could complain at that?
If you look at it purely from a promotional point of view, it's a no-brainer. But I think Barney himself would feel a bit lucky to get in. I think people would view him as a bit lucky to get in based purely on performance. As you say, there's 10,000 fans in Rotterdam back-to-back, so they're all going to want to see Barney. We mentioned on the last show that a lot of people were already starting to put together, a bit early in our opinion, but a lot of people are already starting to put together their fantasy Premier League lineup for 2019, and a lot of people were already saying that they don't feel Barney will make it, and it will be interesting to see whether he does or he doesn't, based on the fact that it's going to be his last year, Josh. I think the thing is, I think we're so used to Barneveld having such great success that he hasn't, obviously, this year, but he's still reached 2 televised finals. I know the World Cup to team event with Marco van Gerwen, but he still won that. A lot of the players who have been talked about for Premier League contention haven't done that. They have played the Pro Tour and the Euro Tour, whereas Raymond hasn't. I understand that. But obviously the Premier League is a televised event. So if you're picking players purely on their Pro Tour form, will they be able to translate that onto the television? So I still think not many people have reached as many finals this year as Barney has on TV. Also on social media, it did prompt a lot of conversations about, top 10 darts players of all time, top 5 darts players of all time. Jordan, where does he rank for you in your sort of list? Where are you putting him? Probably 4th or 5th. I wouldn't quite put him at the top, like with the Phil Taylors and the Michael van Gerwen I'd have above him, because I think they're like the unstoppable forces. You think they're freaks of sport because you don't think they can be beaten. Yeah. Whereas apart from Barney's first year in the PDC, I don't think he's really been dominant in the PDC. He's always had someone above him. Yeah, I think if I was putting my list together, I would certainly go for Bristow and Taylor at the top. Taylor probably first, followed by Bristow, probably Michael van Gerwen next, but I'm sure I would be slotting Barney in at around 4 or 5, Josh. To be fair, I think my top 4, I think it goes without saying Phil Taylor's number 1. I don't think that can be argued. And Bristow, van Gerwen and Barney were my next
three. I think Bristow, it's hard. I wasn't born in the Bristow era. I've watched a lot of darts gold, but I think Bristow, for what he achieved, when you consider he had Dartistry as well, I think Bristow's probably got to be number two. Obviously, Michael's won already more majors than Raymond, but we have to remember there's more majors now in the PDCs than there was when Raymond.
Yeah, it's a different era, isn't it? Yeah.
Obviously, Michael's probably achieved standards of performance that Raymond maybe hasn't. But if you look at it, Raymond's a 5-time world champion, Michael's a 2-time. But I'd definitely put him in the top 4.
Well, Raymond is a 5-time world champion, but Josh, by the time he retires, he could be a 7-time world champion.
He could. It's going to be very difficult because I think he's due to be seeded 16th at the Ali Pali this year,
right?
Which would potentially mean a last 16 showdown with Van Gerwen if he got that far.
Well, if we've seen anything recently, Josh, over the last few weeks, Michael Van Gerwen is fallible.
He is, and also you've got to remember Barney, the world is everything for him.
Yeah.
When he lost to Van Gerwen the other year, he said, my year's over on January the 1st because his focus is the World Championship, and he's got to the semis there in 4 of the last 6 years, so he does usually save his best performance for there, and hopefully he will again this year.
Jordan, obviously we've got a little while before Barney officially retires, but when he does hang the darts up, what do you see him doing long term? Do you see him in maybe a TV role or performing in the exhibition circuit, perhaps going abroad and doing the old soft tip thing like Phil Taylor, or do you think we'll just see him quietly disappear?
I think he's a family man, so I can't see him playing any soft tip, but I can see him doing a few exhibitions here and there. I think if him and Taylor are in an exhibition, it would draw a lot of people, so I could see a few of them. But mainly, I think he'll go back to Holland and spend time with his family.
Josh, we can't get away from the fact that Barney is your favourite player of all time. You've always been a very, very staunch supporter of Barney's, and credit to you for that. Obviously, jokes aside, it will be a sad time for all of us, but for someone like yourself who is such a big Barney fan, getting used to not seeing him partake in the big tournaments, it's going to be a bit of a wrench for you.
It will be strange. I mean, I first started watching darts in about 2006 when he was out of his last year of the BDO. And watching him he was the kind of player that got me into the sport. And obviously now I'm lucky enough to kind of work in darts as a career. So it will be strange. He was the person who kind of inspired me to watch it. But I suppose the game moves on. And we have to. I mean, even if Raymond Goffley got knocked out in the tournament, I still watch every darts event going. So it won't affect my love for the sport. But it will be strange not to see Raymond on the big stage competing for sure.
I think another one of Raymond's lasting legacies will be the emergence of Dutch darts.
Definitely.
There's some really good Dutch players, Josh. I'm sure you could list a couple of them that are up and coming or have already established themselves in and around the PDC.
Well, I mean, the one I think of notably is Jeffrey Deswan.
Yeah.
Raymond mentored him and sponsored him for a short while. I think they're still very good friends, and I think Raymond still mentors him. Hopefully he reached the World Match Play semis this year, beat Michael Van Gerwen twice on TV, so he's definitely one coming through. But you only have to look at the Rotterdam reception he received. I mean, they adore him. They worship him in Holland.
Yeah. I think they worship him over here as well.
They do, yeah.
The chance of Barney Army when he's performing in this country and around the world, really. Barney's support is immense, and I'm sure his retirement will be felt by all of us. Josh, one final thing. I'm going to give you the opportunity now to list your top 3 Raymond van Barneveld moments of all time.
In reverse?
Yeah, reverse. Give me number 3 first.
Put me on the spot.
It has put you on the spot, but I'm sure you can pluck something from the ether.
This is like a challenge, Josh. Already.
Well, my number 3 is going to be his Premier League win
in
2014.
Lovely.
Because obviously, I think he reached the semis 5 or 6 times and not been able to reach the final. He beat Taylor in the semis,
and
then went on to beat Van Gerwen in the final.
Yeah.
That was a special night. Number 2 has to be the Grand Slam in 2012.
Right.
He hadn't won a major for 5 years, and a lot of people have kind of written him off. And he actually wasn't going to go to that tournament. He was going to pull out, focus on the World. His wife Sylvia said, "No, you're going to go, and you're going to play." And he went and won it. And he beat Van Gerwen in the final. It was quite a magical ending, 11 darter to win it. But obviously number 1 has to be that 2007 World Final between
Absolutely
Taylor and
fantastic,
Barney.
Wasn't it? A lot of people, even who are not particularly, Barney or Taylor fans, do refer to that 2007 World Final as the greatest final ever staged.
I think that was a real turning point for the PDC. I mean, obviously Barney's switch then prompted the likes of Van Gerwen, Anderson, Whitlock, King, Van der Vault all to kind of join the PDC, but it just kind of grasped the whole nation, really. I mean, it was incredible, the final, and I think since then the popularity of the sport has grown beyond any measure that anyone expected, really.
Yeah, well, we have got just over a year to enjoy Barney on the circuit, and I'm sure the darts fans amongst us will make sure that we watch as much of Barney as we can in his final year, whether that's on television or hopefully we can get along, both ourselves and the listeners get along and see some live events and cheer Barney on as he approaches his retirement. Listen, from all of us on the JDP, of course we wish Barney well. Both for the next year while he's playing and also in well-earned retirement, because I'm sure it's been a massive commitment for Raymond over the years, and he deserves all the plaudits that are going to come his way. So we wish you all the best, Barney.
I feel happy, won't you call me on the telephone? In the morning, won't you call me on the telephone?
Call the boys on 07739 738 329. That's 07739 738 329 and leave them a message.
Hi, this is Rod Studd from Sky Sports and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry podcast.
Right, Josh, let's get into the most recent tournaments. We'll go to the Grand Slam of Darts shortly, but first let's do a little quick chat about the World Series of Darts. I did mention in the intro that it was just starting to take place when we recorded episode 7. So, tell us what happened.
It seems like ages ago now, doesn't it? With all the drama at the Grand Slam, but James Wade won his second TV title in less than a week, which is incredible when you think he'd gone 4 years without winning one prior to that.
The question, when he won it, the question I asked on Twitter, and I don't know if I got an answer in the end, was when was the last time outside of Michael van Gerwen somebody won back-to-back TV titles?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Anderson won, obviously, the UK Open and Match Play this year.
There was something in between that.
Premier League, I suppose, yeah. But I think before that, maybe you have to go back to Barneveld in 2007. If you're going outside of Taylor and Van Gerwen, he won the UK Open and then the Las Vegas Desert Classic. But it hasn't been done very often.
Doesn't happen a lot, does it?
No, so it's a real achievement, especially in the modern game.
Yeah, maybe if one of our listeners knows better, drop us a line on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry and let us know. But so James Wade was our winner, Josh.
Yep, he kicked off with a comfortable 6-3 win over Ross Smith, who qualified for the event. Then he faced home favourite Mensur Suljovic. Obviously, he got a wonderful reception, Suljovic, in Vienna. But Wade was really consistent. Suljovic a bit under par. Wade ran out a 6-3 winner. In the quarters, he faced Jamie Lewis, who had knocked out Rob Cross in the previous round. Wade won 10-5. He then faced Raymond van Barneveld in the semis. Barney had beaten Van Gerwen, who was three-time reigning champion here at the World Series. But Barney couldn't quite replicate that performance against Van Gerwen, and Wade won 11-2. Brilliant display. I think he averaged 101, was averaging 105 for large parts, hit 3 ton-plus finishes, barely missed a dart double, and that set up a final against Michael Smith in one of the best PDC finals we've seen for some while. Smith was winning. At one stage, Wade came back. Wade then missed 3 darts in the penultimate leg to win it, having bust 121 quite incredibly. Smith then had the throw in the decider. Seemed like he was going to win his first major, but then spurned 5-match darts, and Wade nicked it. So brilliant final, and obviously Wade winning back-to-back PDC majors. Yeah, in the last episode we obviously mentioned Wade winning the European Championship, and how special it was for him and for the family as well with the birth of Arthur, and to go on and produce double bubble in the next tournament. What an absolutely amazing achievement. It's sensational. I think he actually played far better in the World Series than he did in the European Championships. It's still a great feat to win the Euros, but he survived match darts against Price and against Max Hopp. He wasn't as convincing, I didn't think, at the Euros, whereas you could see the confidence he'd gained from that win at the World Series, and he thoroughly deserved his title. Jordan, any thoughts on James Wade? Are you a fan of his?
Well, when I started watching darts, he was Mr. Consistent, and over recent years he's lost that a little bit. I went to the World Champs last year and watched him get knocked out in the first round. I thought that might be the end for him at the top, but he's come back, and as you can see, he just plays consistent darts. He don't get over 100 averages very much, but if someone's off their game, then he normally takes advantage. Yeah, it was a real special performance across both tournaments, and many congratulations to James. It's a feat that I don't think you'll see repeated too often outside of Mr. Van Gerwen. So it's something to really be applauded. Okay, Josh, let's move on to the most recent tournament, the Grand Slam of Darts. Talk to us about that. Where do we start, really? I mean, it was a brilliant tournament. It's always one of my favourites. Obviously, it involved the PDC and the BDO competing against each other. Only been 4 winners of this previously, and that was obviously Phil Taylor, Scott Waits from the BDO, Van Gerwen and Barneveld. But it was a surprise winner this year in the shape of Gerwyn Price, who was superb throughout the tournament. He got married the day before, funnily enough, and actually lost his darts
For I think he lost his darts in the suitcase from
I didn't
Vienna.
hear about that.
Yeah, I didn't hear it until after the tournament. Gerwyn talked about it and said he kind of went into it with no pressure on his shoulders because he didn't have his darts. So he said he kind of, if he lost, he felt that was the factor behind it. But he was superb throughout the group stages. Beat Andrew Gilding 5-2, then beat Glenn Durrant, BDO number 1 in a brilliant game, Price at 7 maximums, and then he lost to Simon Whitlock. But despite losing, averaged 105. It was an amazing game. Whitlock hit 2 170s, but that was kind of labelled as a group of death, obviously, with Price, Whitlock, 2 Premier League players, Durrant, the BDO number 1. So he came through that. Beat Josh Payne in the last 16, pretty comfortable, 10-5. Played Whitlock again in the quarters. And after Whitlock had obviously survived 4 match darts against Price in the group stages, Whitlock then missed 5 darts to knock Price out in the quarters. Price didn't lead for any stage of that match until the final leg. In the semis, he faced Mensur Suljovic. Suljovic was 11-5 up, finished superbly at one stage, but then almost just disintegrated, and Price just grew in confidence, won 11 of the last 13 legs. Quite a remarkable comeback. And then obviously the final, which got everyone talking, against Gary Anderson. We know Gerwyn Price and Anderson, they're not the best of friends up on the hockey. Anderson was a red-hot favourite after beating Van Gerwen, but Price turned the tables on Anderson with a 16-13 win.
Before we get into a detailed discussion about the events that took place in the final, just backtracking back to Mensur Suljovic, I noticed you made reference to it on Twitter as well, about he sort of had a lead and squandered it, and it wasn't the first time that he'd done that this year. Do you think there's an issue there with Mensur's mentality when it comes to the big games?
I'm not sure really. I think it's hard to say that because I mean he reached the World Match Play final this year, beat Peter Wright in a really tight encounter.
Well, yeah, just looking at his record for 2018, World Match Play runner-up, Masters semi-final, German Darts Championship semi-final, Champions League semi-final, World Grand Prix semi-final, Grand Slam of Darts semi-final. I mean, he's slowly becoming the darting nearly man, isn't he?
He's Mr. Consistent, but we have to remember he did win the Champions League last year. He won the German Masters this year, so he has got over that finishing line. To be fair, I think you have to give more credit to Price and criticise Suljovic. I mean, Price was superb in the latter stages. He barely missed a dart at double. His scoring was superb. Suljovic didn't drop massively. I think he was averaging 105 at one point. He still averaged 98, so he didn't collapse. But I was doing the blogging for Sky that day, and I think I mentioned on the blog he'd hit 10 out of 13 of his double Suljovic. I think then he hit 2 out of his next 18 or something.
Yeah.
His doubling fell apart, and that's what killed his confidence.
I just worry for him a little bit. I mean, we spoke for many years about Peter Wright, and would he ever, get rid of the sort of bridesmaid tag? I do worry that Mensur is going to get that nearly man tag.
I'm not sure. I mean, like I say, he only won the Champions League last year, and I think although he's been around on the tour for a long time, he's only really kind of come to prominence over the last 2 or 3 years. But I don't think I think mentally he's very strong, Suljovic, and I don't think he'll be fazed by that. I think it's more of a coincidence. I think the Grand Prix is a double in, double out. It's a kind of a unique event. I think the Grand Slam, he'll be regretting the fact he didn't close it out, and he probably should have done on reflection. But I don't think it's fair to call him a nearly man because he's just Mr. Consistent.
Where does that leave his ranking at the moment?
I think he's down to 7 now because Gerwyn Price, by winning the tournament, has climbed up to number 6.
Right.
So he's still in the top 7, and I can't see him going any further down over the next few years.
Shoe in for the Premier League?
He has to be. I know he got eliminated last year.
Yeah.
But as we mentioned, he got to the match play final. That was one of the best games ever against Gary Anderson. And as you mentioned, he's probably been the most consistent player, along with possibly Anderson and Van Gerwen in the majors. So for me, he has to be him.
Right, come on in. Let's talk about this final. Tell us what occurred.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Gerwyn Price and Gary Anderson, they're not the best of friends on the hockey. Gary Anderson's...
Is that a known thing, is it?
Yeah, I mean, Gary Anderson and Price have met a few times at the Masters and the Premier League earlier this year, and Gary's not really a fan of Gerwyn's antics. He prefers to get up there, throw darts, collect your darts, And I think Gerwyn, he's renowned for his celebrations. I don't think it's bad in the celebrations. I know a lot of people are saying, there's no place for it in the sport, but we want characters.
Yeah.
And he is entertainment, Gerwyn Price, and I think he's great to watch, but I think he did overstep the line a little bit with his antics. We saw one stage going off into the break, Gerwyn was kind of mocking Gary and putting his hand up towards him, and obviously there was the incident in the penultimate leg that got everyone talking when Gerwyn hit a 174, I think it was. Gary went to approach the hockey. Gerwyn then kind of leant towards Gary, and Gary pushed him. Well, I say push, it was more of a little nudge, it wasn't a push. But obviously that there should be no contact on the hockey. It wasn't a great incident really, but obviously it got a lot of controversy and caught a lot of attention.
Before we came on air, Josh, you and I were just having a casual chat about the final, and again, I'm going to use a word that you've just used, characters. We do want characters in darts. We've obviously lost arguably the greatest darts player the world's ever seen in Phil Taylor. The news breaking yesterday of Raymond van Barneveld's impending retirement. The game needs characters. The game needs characters coming through. People who are going to get people, hungry for darts and want to switch on or attend the live events. And unfortunately, whether you like him or not, there's no denying it. He is absolute box office.
I don't think you have to be a controversial character to be entertaining. I mean, if you look at the last 16 match between Smith and Van Gerwen, there was no antics, no gamesmanship, and that's one of the best games at the Grand Slam. Van Gerwen beat Smith 10-8. There was about 19 180s between them. It was just a brilliant game of darts. So I don't think you have to be controversial to be an entertaining player. But I think with Gerwyn, his celebrations are a big part of his game. It's what fires him up. It's a big part of who he is. And I think if you take that away from him, it would detract something from his game. So he's not breaking any rules by celebrating. There's no rules to say you can't celebrate, you can't fist pump.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult where you draw the line, but I do think he went a little bit over the top, a little bit too aggressive with his celebrations, in my opinion. Jordan,
from a personal point of view, I don't have a major issue with Price's antics. You never really want to see physical contact between two players in a competition. Never mind the final. But I don't really have a major issue with it. Anderson is experienced enough and long in the tooth enough to really to know how to sort of deal with that kind of thing and put it to the back of his mind. I know you mentioned earlier you watched the final. What did you make of it?
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. When you look back, like Taylor, Barney, they had a bust up and it brings viewers in, makes it controversial. Sky Sports loved it. The fans all were talking about it. He was trending on Twitter at the time, so it's gained a lot of traction. And I think personally, Anderson should have just handled it better. I don't think you'd see Taylor in his prime or Michael van Gerwen. They'd hit a 180 and they'd celebrate just as hard and they'd give it back to him, whereas Anderson got rattled by it, and I don't think he helped himself out.
Josh, have you ever seen a player booed as much as Price was when he lifted that trophy?
No, I mean, I think he was booed at the walk-on before the start of the game, but those boos were even more vociferous by the end of it. But listen, I agree with Jordan to the extent I think Gary could have dealt with it a little bit better. The issue is with Gary, he's a rhythm player. He likes to get on with the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Gerwyn celebrations, they were delaying it, and he wanted to get to the oche. But I think maybe Gary, on reflection, could have stood back a little bit, let Gerwyn pass, kind of, take the heat out of the game. But it's easy to say in hindsight. Obviously, when you're in the heat of battle up in a major final, tempers do flare.
Wayne Mardle on commentary when it was all kicking off and occurring was saying that he felt that Gary was in the wrong for encroaching.
I don't even think he was in the wrong for encroaching, actually. I see what Wayne was saying. I think the issue was because Gerwyn had thrown his darts, so Gary's entitled to go to the board. Obviously, then Gerwyn sort of leant in towards Gary. He shouldn't have nudged him. He should have just waited for him to go. Softly, and I think the DRA, I read a statement earlier from the PDC that the DRA...
They're going to investigate it, yeah.
The Darts Regulation Authority will be investigating the game, so I'd imagine both players will be fined, I think. But I think with Gerwyn, the issue Gerwyn Price could have now, he said he's not bothered by the crowd's reaction. He's quite mentally strong. He's a sportsman. He's a former rugby player. But he's going to have to carry this with him now. He's going to have the tag of, the pantomime villain.
Well, funnily enough, Kim Hybrook's tweeted straight after the final, and he was saying that thank you very much for no longer being the most hated man in darts.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, Kim's never been very popular with the crowd, again, because of his celebrations.
Yeah.
But I've always been a big fan of Kim, but that was quite a humorous tweet, yeah. But Gerwyn's issue now is, like I say, everyone's going to have seen that. A lot of people have got quite strong opinions about it. I personally don't have an issue with his celebrations, as long as they're not aggressive or intimidating. But I think he's not going to be a very popular man with the crowds. And could you imagine if he plays Anderson in Glasgow in the Premier League? That would be quite something.
Do you think opponents in future who are playing Anderson, now that having seen that and having seen how it did, let's face it, rattle Gary, do you think other players will be inclined to use those kind of tactics to perhaps get the best of Gary?
I don't think so. I think Gary's a very respected figure, very likeable figure on the circuit. I don't think usually he is put off too much by those antics. I think we saw he had a little bit of a flare-up of Daryl Gurney at the Grand Prix, but I think unless it's in your nature to be an aggressive player, I don't think it's easy to put on. And I think the main thing you've got to do is just play your own game and focus on your own game. So I don't think players who don't usually employ those tactics will try and put Anderson off by that. But I think the likes of Price, Gurney, who are quite aggressive on the oche, I certainly don't think they'll be dissuaded from doing that again.
Josh, outside of the final, it would be remiss of us not to mention the fact that we were witnesses to a 9-darter.
Yeah, brilliant. Dimitri van den Bergh hit his first career 9-darter on the Grand Slam stage. He's had a very difficult couple of months, Dimitri, personally, so I was delighted for him to see him hit the 9 darter. He's a massive talent. He's reigning World Youth Champion, defending his World Youth title at the Players' Championship Finals. He's not quite produced his stage form on the floor this year. He's struggled on the Pro Tour, but he is a big stage player. We saw it at the World Championships. And he's got a massive future in the game, and I was delighted for him. He's a real popular figure, a very happy-go-lucky character, and this could be the start for him. This could be his breakthrough, the quarterfinals.
And thinking back to the last episode, Josh, we had Oki Balboa on as a guest, and we asked Oki to talk to us about who he fancied for a bit of a run, particularly from the BDO side of things. And Oki obviously mentioned Unterbuchner's name, and he did very well.
Yeah, Michael Unterbuchner's a real improved player on the BDO circuit. Got to the Lakeside semi-finals in January. Kind of came from relative obscurity, really, to do that. But he's reached the BDO World Trophy final this year. He was in a tough group with Anderson and Ian White, but he beat White, then went on to beat Wade, who was obviously back-to-back major
on a run,
winner.
Yeah.
Exactly. Wade was looking to win a 14th consecutive game, so to beat Wade in that manner is no mean feat. And obviously came out on the losing side against Anderson, but no shame in that, and he had a superb tournament.
Ratashki.
Yep, very strong player. When I saw Group B, obviously with Ratashki, Marcus Smith and Barneveld, I thought it would be 2 from 3, and it turned out that way, really. He didn't play that well against Barney. Obviously, neither did Raymond. I think that was a key game. And obviously, Ratashki then played very well against Smith, was unlucky to lose to him, beat Smith-Neal to progress, but came up against an inspired Johnny Clayton in the last 16. Clayton averaged 104.
Yeah.
And there was very little Ratashki could do. But he's certainly one to watch for the World Championships, and he's going to be unseeded. So he's going to be one that the big boys are hoping to avoid.
In general, I thought it was quite a good showing from the BDO players.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be disappointed only 2 got through. Obviously, Glenn Durrant, I think we all expected him to get through. Yeah. But he was so unfortunate. He had the 3rd highest tournament average in the groups, but still went out. Yeah. I mean, Andrew Gilding played the best I've seen him play for about 3 years to beat Durrant 5-4. Obviously, Price at 7-1-8 to beat Durrant 5-4, so that was a shame. But obviously, Wesley Harms got through as well. He performed well to defeat Keegan Brown and Mark Webster. I thought they acquitted themselves well.
Okay, so that is your darting roundup, and Gerwyn Price is your Grand Slam of Darts champion. Right then, you may remember from one of our previous episodes, I asked the panel and the listeners to predict their winner for both the World Series of Darts and the Grand Slam. And we were going to give a prize away. I think we had a couple of the JDP mugs kicking around in the old broom cupboard. And if you predicted correctly the winner of both tournaments, we were going to give away a mug. And I also asked Josh and Neil, and also myself obviously contributed and picked our winners. Josh, how many people predicted James Wade followed by Gerwyn Price?
A grand total of none. And if you did, I want the lottery numbers.
Yeah, unfortunately, nobody came up with the correct answer for that. Therefore, the mug stays in the broom cupboard, and it means we can all have a cup of tea later on in the mugs because we're not sending them out. So, commiserations. We do like a bit of a prediction league on the JDP. We did the prediction league for the Premier League this year, Josh, which I thought was good fun. I think we should probably get our heads together over the next couple of weeks and come up with something that we can do for the listeners for probably the Worlds. What do you think?
Yep, that sounds good, and I'll get some out on social media, and we'll plug that and try and get people to enter.
Okay, let's have a look at the next event that's coming up. Josh, we are looking at the Players' Championship.
Yep, Players' Championship Finals coming from Minehead. It starts this Friday. It's a 3-day event, quite an intensive one. 64-player field, and it's comprised solely of the top 64 of the Players' Championship Order of Merit. So Ian White is top seed in Minehead because of his consistency on the Pro Tour this year. Obviously, we've got all the big names, well, most of the big names, Marco van Gerwen, Gary Anderson, Peter Wright. Not always seeded as you'd expect. I think Van Gerwen's 3rd seed. No Raymond van Barneveld because he didn't enter many of the Players' Championship events. But there's some really tasty ties. Because it's not based on world ranking, the seedings are all a bit up in the air, and you've got some really good ties. Marco Smith against Vincent van der Vault is one that caught my eye. Yeah. Another one is a Ratashki against Gerwyn Price. Obviously, Gerwyn Price just winning the Grand Slam. Ratashki's won 3 Pro Tours. Yeah. That's a really good one. And I think Jordan picked out a one that caught his eye as well.
Yeah, I quite like the look of Whitlock versus Carl Anderson, World Cup of Darts teammate. And we'll see who's the leading man in that duo.
And I think the winner plays Gary Anderson in the second round, so it doesn't get any easier. Just one bit of breaking news that came out today from the PDC, that there'll be no Mensur Silovic at the Players' Championship Finals. He's pulled out due to family reasons, so hope everything's okay there with Mensur. It's a real shame because he would have potentially faced Marco van Gerwen in round 2, but he's been replaced by Benito van der Pas, who was the next player on the Players' Championship Order of Merit, And now Benito will take Mensor's place and will play Keegan Brown in the first round.
Yeah, best wishes to Mensor. Hope everything's okay, and we look forward to seeing him return. Right then, talking of the Players' Championships, it's now time for this.
Cool, what are the odds?
Okay, Jordan, in Neil's absence, I believe you've taken on the mantle of checking out a few odds for the upcoming tournament. What you got for us, buddy?
I'll try and do my best to do Neil justice.
Neil's not listening. Don't worry about that.
So obviously standard, you've got MVG at the top at 11 to 10. You've got Anderson in second at 7 to 2, and Peter Wright at 9 to 1. Your usual candidates. But interestingly, fourth in the list is the informed James Wade at 16 to 1.
Yeah, I thought we might be.
Above Rob Cross, who's not in great form, but maybe an outside bet at 20 to 1. And then we've got the Grand Slam winner, Gerwyn Price, as an outside bet at 33 to 1. Good money on that.
Worth a punt.
Who's Price playing?
He's got a tough draw. He's got Ratashki in the opening round.
Yeah.
And if he wins that, it could be Adrian Lewis.
Yeah, that's right.
So it'll be a tough draw, but he's capable.
Anything else, Jordan?
Yeah, and another outside bet is the Order of Merit number 1, which is Ian White, and he's 40 to 1, so he's got quite long odds.
Performed very well, White, this year, isn't he?
Yeah, obviously, as Jordan mentioned, he's a top seed on the Players' Championship Order of Merit, but Ian's never reached a PDC major semi-final. He's so consistent, so solid on the floor, but he's yet to really produce his very best on the big stage. Obviously, another early exit at the Grand Slam, so it'd be great to see Ian perform how he can on the big stage.
So who's your tip for the outright on that, Josh?
Tough. I mean, I don't want to be boring and say Van Gerwen, but I just feel he hasn't won his last 3 tournaments, so he's going to be gunning for it this tournament.
Yeah.
Obviously, no Mensur Suljovic, who he could have faced in the second round, which helps him. It's a short format early on. I think it could trip a few players up. I'm going to tip not a real outsider. I'm going to say Michael Smith. He's playing really, really well. Was unlucky at the Grand Slam, World Series finalist. I'm going to say Michael Smith will win his first PDC major.
22 to 1.
22 to 1. Nothing on this, no bets, just a friendly one. Jordan, who are you going to pull out?
Well, I normally always go for Peter Wright because I want him to win, but if I had to make a guess, I think Anderson will come back and avenge that final defeat at the Grand Slam.
And I'm going to go for James Wade to have a handy triple this year and pick up the trophy for that one. Okay, that is your odds for the upcoming players. We're not going to have a look at the odds for the Worlds. We'll leave that till the next episode.
Do that for the next episode, yeah.
And then because we haven't got the draw for that yet, have we?
The draw is next Monday after the World Championship qualifier.
Talking of which, the BDO draw is upcoming this week, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah, that's right. This Thursday, so we'll be keeping an eye on that, and I'll be reporting that on my website.
Well, that's the odds for you. Please do gamble responsibly, and gentlemen, always remember when the fun stops, stop.
Cool, what are the odds?
Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.
Right then, Josh, as you mentioned at the top of the show, you managed to secure an interview with Adrian Lewis. How did that go?
Yeah, very well, thanks, John. It's a pleasure to speak to Adrian, get his thoughts on the upcoming Players' Championship finals and, of course, the World Championship. He had a very tough 2017, but he's come back with a vengeance, especially on the Pro Tour circuit this year, looking to get back into the world's top 8. So he was very interesting and insightful.
Right, let's have a little listen to Jackpot.
Right, guys, I'm delighted to be joined by two-time world champion Adrian Lewis. Adrian, thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Thank you for having me.
Obviously, it's the business end of the darting year now, Adrian. We've got the Players' Championship finals coming up, and obviously the Worlds in a month's time. How excited are you for the Ali Pali?
Oh, can't wait to get back there. Certainly after last year, it was such a disappointment, and hopefully I'll put that behind me and get up there and do the job, really.
Well, you mentioned last year, Adrian. Obviously, 2017 was a really tough year for you, but you've come back strongly this year. You've come back strongly this year. How would you assess your season so far?
I think I've been very consistent. I've been making quarters, semis, and finals more or less all year. So I haven't really had a dip in form. I've been unlucky on a few occasions as well. So yeah, I've been quite consistent. There's a lot more come from me. I know that. And hopefully I'll turn up in the next couple of tournaments and do that.
For those who aren't aware, just describe how difficult it was for you in 2017, because you were barely able to practice, were you?
No, I've had months off. No, like I said, I had a low back operation, so I couldn't practice, which obviously ended me with performances. And there's nothing worse than, when you're going up there with no confidence at all because you haven't practiced and you don't want to let the crowd down, and it's an awful feeling.
Definitely. I mean, obviously you missed out on the Premier League this year.
Was that a blow to you, or did you use it as a positive to kind of focus on the ranking events?
Yeah, I think it's helped me. I think looking back now, I think it does help me really. Because he's there and everywhere, the players. He says it's an hard slog. Like I said, I've done it for 10, 12 years now. And he says, people have realised how hard he says the newcomers who've come into the game, into the Premier League, and he says stuff. But until you've actually experienced it for yourself, you don't really know.
How do you rate your Premier League chances for 2019? Do you think you're in contention to return next year?
Yeah, I think I'm in contention, but I also think I've got to have a good Players' Championships and a good World Championships. I think that's the key. Certainly in the Worlds, I've got to perform there.
I mean, obviously, from watching, I think you've been quite unfortunate in the big majors. I mean, I look back at the match play against Jeffrey Dessoir, and you averaged about 104 and lost. Dave Chisnell at the Euros at 157. Do you feel you've been a bit unfortunate?
Yeah, like I say, sometimes you just can't do much about that. It's one of them things. You have to take the rough with the smooth, I think, in this game. You're going to have your ups and downs, and like I say, last year was a down. And I'm starting to put things together and doing well in that respect. I
mean, we know you're one of the most naturally gifted players in the world, but you seem to have slowed down your throw a little bit this year, taking more time. What's the reason behind that?
I think it was more of me rushing in. I don't think it's my throw as so much as slowed down. It's more of me approach to the hockey. I think before I was kicking the reels, you know what I mean, just trying and get on there basically. But now I've just do that little step. But I think I'm probably back to my normal pace again now. I've played around with it a bit, but no, I think I'm just happy to get into a rhythm and just carry on like that.
No, exactly.
And then what you'll see in the Players' Championships in the world, certainly.
Obviously, we've just had the Grand Slam of darts, Adrian. How frustrating is it not to be involved? Because obviously, the likes of Daryl Gurney, Dave Chisnell, yourself, big players not in it. Because of the qualification system, a lot of people have argued with it.
Personally, I think it was. I think since the PDC made it a ranking event. This is my view on it anyway. I think since the PDC have made it a ranking event, the PDO players shouldn't really be invited to it. I think that ship sailed as well. Obviously, we've got the players who apart from Glenn Durant, I think there isn't. That Michael was he had a decent run, didn't he? But apart from that, I think it's just the PDC players in it. Personally.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have said similar, to be fair, Adrian. But obviously the Players' Championship finals coming up this week. Are you looking forward to getting back on the big stage?
I am, yeah, definitely. I like mine. It's apart from the UK Open, which was a nightmare. I think a nightmare for a lot of players as well. Obviously what happened in March and that with the weather and everything else. But yeah, I do like mine as a venue. I do. I think it's a good crowd in there, good atmosphere, and I do. I really enjoy it.
You've got Adam Hunt in the first round. Do you know a lot about him? Have you played him many times?
I talked to Adam quite a lot actually on the tour, to be honest. He's a nice lad. But yeah, like I say, it's going to be a tough game, but it's certainly going to be tough for him as well.
You've got a potential second round tie at Minehead against Gerwyn Price. Now, I presume you watched the Grand Slam last night. You've played him a lot of times.
To be honest, I didn't watch it. I was it was my brother-in-law's birthday yesterday, so we were just out there around his house, so
I see.
For a couple of hours, I missed it. But obviously, I've heard a lot of negativity, what's been going on.
Yeah, of course.
What's really going on, to be honest.
Yeah, obviously I know you're friends with Gary, but you've played Gerwyn a lot of times. But how difficult is it to kind of play him with his antics? Is it hard to concentrate?
To me, it doesn't really put me off as much. I'm used to people doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Not to the extent sometimes what people have been saying, but you have to deal with it. I think it's you have to give it a bit back. I think if he's taking it and rubbing it in on you, and then you finish something good, you just give it to him a bit back.
Yeah.
And that's the only way he is him on the dartboard.
Yeah, very true.
You know what I mean?
Looking ahead to the Worlds now, do you prepare any differently for the World Championships than you do other tournaments?
Probably mentally more. I think with the longer format as well. I increased my hours on the board as well from 3 to probably 5 or 6. Probably double that on the practice board as well. And then like I say, all stations go. And if you're not ready, by the time you get to by the time you get the Alexandra Palace, you'll never be ready.
A lot of players crumble under the pressure at the Worlds. It's obviously the biggest event of the year. It's the one everyone wants to win, but it brings the best out of you. Why is that, do you think?
Because when I first started, obviously when I was pressing with Phil and so on, he always used to say, I don't care if I don't win any tournament all year as long as I win the world. And I think that's just kept with me all the way through, really. I think, that is the biggest one. You can win the other majors. I'd like to say, for instance, the Grand Slam or the match play. Nothing compares to the World Championships. No.
And you're currently seeded to be 15th, I think, for the world, which is the bottom half of the draw. Now, obviously, that's the opposite side to Michael and Gary. You got Peter Wright and Rob Cross. They're not in the best of form at the moment. Do you sense a real opportunity to come through there and have a good run?
I think so. I mean, even if you're in the top half, I don't think MVG's been on his best game, so far this season. He's done well on the Euro tours, but I don't think he's done that well on the majors now.
No, he hasn't.
So it doesn't really matter what half you're in. You've got to play well. Look at James Wade. He struggled for a couple of years on TV, and then he's won 2 back-to-back TV events. Yeah. And that's just how darts goes. It's if you turn up there and you need a little bit of rub at the green as well. But if you can get all that and put everything in, into one, you've got a great chance of winning.
Definitely. And just looking ahead, for the rest of the year now in 2019, have you set yourself any targets where you want to be in, say, 12 months' time, or you're not looking that far ahead?
Definitely. What I want, obviously, my first aim is get back in the top 8. That's my first aim, and then we'll see where we go from there then.
Perfect. Adrian, very best of luck at the Players and the World Championships next week. And
nice one, Josh. Thank you, mate.
Take care, mate.
All the best. Bye.
Josh's Dartistry. Josh's Dartistry. Josh's Dartistry. Josh's Dartistry.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Josh's interview with Adrian Lewis. Josh, good interview.
Yeah, I've also got to say a big thanks to Dave Allen, the head of the PDC Media, for helping me organise that. So thanks for that, Dave. Really interesting interview. Adrian's so open and honest, which is what you want. I think he's very humble as well, because I think obviously he was at the top of the game, 2-time back-to-back world champion.
Yeah.
It's been a difficult few years for him, but he's still got the ability. He's been a bit unfortunate, as he mentioned, in some of the TV events. But he's got that winner's mentality. He's still hungry.
Yeah, of course he has. You can see it in him.
And he's not satisfied with just being back in the top 16, which is an achievement in itself. He wants to be back in the top 8, possibly even top 4. So I wouldn't bet against him at the Worlds. He always seems to produce his best at the Ali Pali, and he could do that again this year.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good interview. It's always good to get an insight from one of the world's top players. I'm sure he'll be absolutely gunning for progress in the World Championship. Even if he doesn't win it, I'm sure he'll be looking to get on a really good run, Josh.
I mean, as we mentioned, he's obviously won 2 back-to-back world titles there, got to the final in 2016. Last year, lost in the first round to Kevin Munch. It was kind of the culmination of a real horrible year for Adrian.
Yeah.
He had a lot of injury issues, but he's back fighting fit. He's played well at the majors, but just hadn't had the results. But this is where you want to change that.
Jordan, are you a fan of AD Lewis?
Yeah, I am. When I started watching darts, he was the man who was winning the world champs, and he was on top. So it's good to see that he's hungry again and that he wants to get back in the mix with the big boys, because I think he adds a lot to darts. He's a character, and with Barney going and Taylor gone now, we need characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, James Wade has proved that, even if you are out in the wilderness for a short period of time, there's always a way back in, and anyone can win, any of the tournaments with the kind of experience that the likes of Wade and Lewis have got, Josh.
Definitely. I think he's matured as a player and a person as well. He's 33 now. He's been around a long time. He's also one of the most naturally gifted players. I mean, his throw is liquid at times. It's brilliant to watch.
I remember him doing things like no look throws and stuff like that a couple of years ago.
I mean, obviously he doesn't do that on the big stage anymore.
No.
Obviously, there's too much riding on it, but he still does that in exhibitions. He's so talented. He's been a bit more methodical this year, as he spoke in his interview about trying to really focus and slow down and kind of take his time with his darts. But he's so gifted. He's won a world title, and I think if you need the experience to have won a world title, it's invaluable.
Yeah.
Crossing that finishing line. Not many players, apart from maybe Rob Cross last year, come from nowhere to win a world title. So that could be invaluable.
Excellent stuff. Well, Adi, thanks for your time. You're always welcome on the JDP, and we look forward to cheering you on at the Worlds.
You're listening to Josh's Dartistry. Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook by going to the Josh's Dartistry page. You can follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry, or go to the website www.joshisdartistry.com for the latest news and insight to the world of darts. You can also leave us a comment or a question via our voicemail box. Just call 07739 738 329. Leave us a message and we may play it on air. Now back to the show.
Thank you, Neil. Quite nice to have Neil's voice on the show, even though he's not with us at the moment. Okay, as Neil said there, you can follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry. Check us out on Facebook and also log on to the website www.joshsdartistry.com. Right, it's now time for this.
And that's the ball! And that's the ball!
6 darts without hitting the target.
That's the 3!
Who's your favourite dance player?
Come on,
That's the 8! Yeah, no, the 8. That's the 9! Oh! It's just underneath in the 15.
Okay, regular listeners will be well aware of Lord of the Board and the fact that a few times when we've recorded Lord of the Board, we've been over to church studios to record various people's attempts. We've all been in church studios throwing arrows. We thought it was only fair that we got our musical producer involved, who very kindly lets us go over there and do lots of recording. Mr. Colin Church. We thought it'd only be fair to let him have a stab at Lord of the Board and see if he could compete. Josh.
Yeah, I think Colin, all the work he does for us, it's only right that he can step up to the hockey, and I'm sure he'll probably do better than most of us.
Okay, let's have a listen. Okay, welcome to this edition's episode of the JDP 30 Dart Round the Clock Challenge. We are here back again today at Church Studios, mainly because it has A, recording equipment, and B, a dartboard. I'm joined with my co-host, Neil Connor. How you doing, Neil?
Yeah, all good, thanks, John. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate, not too bad. Really excited about this one today because our guest competitor is Mr. Colin Church. Now, Colin is obviously a friend of the show. We've spoken about Colin before. Colin provides all the music for the JDP, wrote the theme tune, to which we are eternally indebted to Colin for that. And Colin is our music maestro. But today, ladies and gentlemen, he is darts player. Colin, good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, hi, John.
You're about to take on the JDP 30 Dart Round the Clock Challenge. How do you think you're going to get on, mate?
I don't think I'm going to make much of an impact on some of the scores that have been going in recently, but I'm hoping to get up around the 10 mark if I can.
Okay, so aiming for double figures, Neil. I think that's good to be ambitious.
It is. I think Colin has already taken on a challenge in your life by being in his life by being your father-in-law. So let's see how he does on this one.
Well, that was uncalled for. Neil, we've watched Colin have a bit of a warm up.
He looked good.
He did look good. I think he's underselling himself there. I think he's a bit of a dark horse.
And he does own his own dartboard.
He does own. This is your dartboard, Colin. So you should have had plenty of practice on it by now.
Yeah, technically good, I think, but the arrows don't seem to go where they should.
Okay. All right. Well, enough of the talk. Let's see how he gets on, Colin. If you'd like to take to the hockey, start your engines, and away we go. That is just. Is that just outside?
Yeah,
that is just outside, Colin. That's 20. And that is just outside there again. He's bent the white. He's got a good
60.
grouping.
Can we play 501?
Yeah.
If we were playing
301 or
501,
501,
you'd be
60
fine.
points.
But good grouping. Okay, 3 darts down. Here we go. Number 1 still. Yes. That's the 1.
Oh.
Just outside the 2. And that's the 15. Unlucky, Colin. So
6 darts down.
Okay, 6 darts down. Aiming for the 2, Colin. Here we go. Take your time. No rush. Take your time.
Start moving a bit.
That's just outside. That's just outside.
He can play though.
He can play. Oh, he's in! That's the 2. Good darts. Great groupings again, Colin.
Yeah, you see the way I used that as a marker?
Yeah, good marker. Great marker.
9 darts gone, 21 to come.
Okay, need the 3. Here we go. No, that's the 2.
Yeah, I've got that one.
That's too low. And that's not the 3 either.
Unlucky. 12 gone. 18 to come.
Still looking for the 3.
I think the 10's in jeopardy.
Here we go. That's the 3.
Well
Oh, close to the 4. And that's too low. Okay, so we're looking for number 4. And we've had how many, Neil?
halfway through. 15 gone, 15 to go.
Okay, Colin, need the 4. No, that's the 18. That's the 4. Looking for 5. And that's the double 12. Unlucky. Okay, so we're looking for the 5. How many darts to come, Neil?
12 darts to come.
Okay, looking for the 5. Take your time, no
Yeah,
rush.
we might get to 10.
That's the 5.
It's a 6.
Above
I've
the
got no
10.
number on 6.
Right hand side. Oh, it's just outside. And that's too high. So we're still looking for the 6. How many darts to come now?
There are 9 darts to come, 21 have gone.
Okay, looking for the 6. It's just underneath. That's just above. No, it's been the wire again. It's just underneath.
This is unlucky.
This is very unlucky.
3 on the wall.
So Neil, am I right? 6 darts to come, looking for the 6.
6 darts to come, yep.
Here we go.
Yes.
Yes, that's double 6. Now we're looking for the 7.
Oh.
Just wide.
I'll have that.
And that's the 7.
So 3 darts to come, and we are looking for 8, 9, and 10 to get you to your target.
Could finish double figures there, Colin.
They've all got to go, haven't they?
They've all got to go.
All got to go.
Okay, 3 darts left. Looking for number 8. That's the 8. That is the 8.
Yeah,
Here we go. That's the 9. Oh, it's just underneath in the 15.
Unlucky.
Colin Church scores 9. Colin, I think you started slowly, but as you move towards the last 6 starts, I think you had a really good finish.
Yeah, I started to warm up towards the end, but slow start, that's what did me. But almost made the 10, so I'm happy.
I think that was a very impressive effort, Neil.
It was very, very good, and I think, having seen people do this time and time again, I think he was clearly someone that can play darts and was a bit unlucky to just score 9. It could have been more.
Let's have it right though, it was on home turf.
Local knowledge.
So we did expect him to do well. But no, Colin, once again, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Colin.
And thanks for all you do for the JDP. And good effort. Let's throw it back to the studio.
Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Colin Church scores 9. So not quite into double figures, unlike yourself, Josh, who got 10.
Yeah, not much better.
And Neil, who currently sits atop of the leaderboard on 16. But I thought it was a gallant effort nonetheless.
Yeah, valiant attempt. I think after stepping up myself on the last episode, I think I've realised how difficult it is. It's easy enough in practice when there's no one watching, but on the big stage, it's difficult. But I thought he did well.
Yeah, Jordan, listening back to that audio, I thought, Colin's not a regular player. He's not down the pub every night chucking arrows at the board. Not like Josh, who practices, for 6 hours a day. But I thought it was 5 hours a day. But I thought it was a valiant attempt from our musical producer.
Yeah, I think he did very well. He didn't have the 3 months practice that Josh had, and he was only 1 behind.
Colin, well done. It was a good attempt. Unfortunately, not quite top of the leaderboard. Not managed to knock Neil off of his perch. That would have been really nice, actually, if we could have knocked Neil off the top.
Yeah, only he lost his job. He's also lost top spot.
Unfortunately not. So Neil stays top of the leaderboard. But as ever, Colin, thanks for the use of Church Studios, and thanks for all you do for the show. It's very much appreciated.
That's the 4! That's the 4!
6 darts without hitting the target.
That's the 3!
Who's throwing past that?
Come on,
That's the 8! Yeah, that is the 8. That's the 9!
Oh, it's just underneath in the 15.
Model, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Right then, gentlemen, it's now time for Challenge Josh.
Challenge Josh.
Do you know what, there's something about that theme tune that sends shivers down my spine.
Yeah,
I bet
me
it does.
too.
It does with you as well, Josh.
It certainly does, John.
Josh looked very, very agitated then.
Okay, challenge Josh then. Obviously, Neil normally takes the reins during this section of the show, but in Neil's absence, I have taken up the mantle. I've prepared you 15 questions, Josh, as usual, to test your darting knowledge and to really prove that you are the resident darting expert on this show. Okay, so this week got a little bit of a theme for you.
Interesting.
Any ideas what it might or might not be about, or have you had any sort of inklings?
Well, themes. I thought maybe Barney, but he's only retired yesterday. So
I think we've already
it's a bit
exhausted the challenge Josh Barney version, and that ended in an absolute farce. So I don't think we should revisit that. Any other ideas?
Grand Slam, maybe.
Okay, no. What I've done is I have done a little bit of research. Now, I know it's not the be-all and end-all when it comes to research, but I've been on Wikipedia.
Okay.
And I know you can get some sort of false information sometimes on Wikipedia from those little internet trolls who go on there sometimes and muck around and change stats and information. But I think generally we can agree that it's pretty reliable in terms of providing, stats and data. So I've been onto Wikipedia, and what I've done is I've looked, when you go on someone's Wikipedia page, you kind of get like an opening bio of somebody, such and such, born in, Manchester in 1970, and can, and a few sort of snippets about what they're best known for.
Okay.
So what I've done is I've done that for 15 darts players.
Okay.
I've removed certain pieces of information that would probably make a few of them an absolute dead giveaway.
Yeah.
So the information you're going to get from their bio, their opening bio, is slightly reduced, but there is still enough information in there, I think, for you to sort of accurately be working out whose Wikipedia page I'm currently on.
Okay, John.
How are you feeling about that?
Bit sceptical. I think it'll be tough, but I'll do my very best.
Okay, are you ready for question number 1?
Yes.
Here we go. Okay, I've got the questions in front. There's no mirrors behind me. You can't see my questions, Kenny Jordan. Okay. Okay, here we go then. Question number 1. He has won the PDC Player of the Year award 6 times and has twice been nominated for the BBC Sports Personality of the Year in 2006 and 2010, finishing as runner-up in the latter. He was the first person to hit 2 9-dart finishes in one match.
Yep, Phil Taylor.
He's not even going to let me complete the question.
Come on, Josh.
How arrogant is that?
No, not arrogant. I knew it from the old Sports Personality.
Or were you just getting bored of listening to me list Phil Taylor's achievements?
I thought you might be here till midnight.
Okay.
Just wanted one on the board.
That is correct. Okay, so 1 out of 1 so far, Josh. It's a good start. Here we go. Are you ready for question number 2?
Indeed.
Here we go. Born on the 6th of April 1983 in Aldershot, he became the youngest player to win a major PDC. Oh, he's put his finger up in the air. So if you're ready to answer, Josh.
Yeah, I am.
What's
James Wade.
Okay, I will, just for the benefit of the listeners, read the full question. He became the youngest player to win a major PDC title at World Match Play in 2007 at the age of 24. This record was broke when Michael van Gerwen won the 2012 World Grand Prix at the age of 23. Your answer is James Wade, is that?
Yeah.
That is correct. Well done. 2 out of 2.
Very impressive.
Right, it's a good start. Here is question number 3. He is noted for his unorthodox throwing action and favouring double 14 as his finishing double where possible, and reached his first major final in 2016 at the European Championships.
Mensur Suljovic.
The Gentle, yes, that is correct. Well done. 3 out of 3. Jordan, it's a good start so far.
Yeah, he's looking very confident at the moment. I don't like it.
Okay, let's see if we can do our best to ruin that. Here we go with question number 4. Her best run at the BDO World Darts Championship came in 2012, where she beat Rhiannon Edwards and Lorraine Farlam to reach the final. In the final, she led Anastasia Dobromoslova by a set and through for the championship, but was broken and ultimately lost 2-1. This was equalled by her 2016 run, where she lost in the final to Trina Gulliver.
Oh, he looks nervous on this one.
I've got him.
Is it 2016 against Trina Gulliver, did you say?
Yes, 2016. This was equalled by her 2016 run, where she lost in the final to Trina Gulliver.
Dieter Hedman.
Well done. I thought we had him there, Jordan.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Yeah, I'm impressed with that, Josh. Done very well to get that out. A bit of confusion to start off with. You looked a bit troubled at the start of that question.
Yeah, because I was thinking back to 2012 and I couldn't remember, but I do remember Dieter losing to Trina in the 2016 finals. That's what helped me out with that one.
Okay, well done. Well, you're 4 out of 4. Let's press on with question number 5. Here we go. His second quarter-final appearance in the PDC was at a UK Open qualifier in February 2014, which he reached by eliminating world number 1 Michael van Gerwen 6-5 with a 1-4-6 checkout. He was beaten 6-4 by Andrew Gilding, but the performance ensured he qualified for the UK Open itself for the first time. Later in the year, he made his debut in the World Grand Prix, which he qualified for by being the second highest non-exempt Irish player on the Pro Tour Order of Merit.
He was shaking his head, but then it's like a light switch went off.
No. Okay. Tough one.
Maybe not.
World Grand Prix Irish 2014. There's a couple of thoughts going through my head. I'm going to. Could you repeat the end of that again for me, John?
Oh, for goodness sake, hang on. I'm just going to fade out the wind and the church bells, bear with me. Okay, I'll read the whole question again for you, okay? Because there's quite a lot of information in there. So question 5 is, his second quarter-final appearance in the PDC was at a UK Open qualifier in February 2014, which he reached by eliminating world number 1 Michael van Gerwen 6-5 with a 146 checkout. He was beaten 6-4 by Andrew Gilding, but the performance ensured he qualified for the UK Open itself for the first time. Later in the year, he made his debut in the World Grand Prix, which he qualified for by being the second highest non-exempt Irish player on the Pro Tour Order of Merit.
Well, at least we know he's Irish.
What are you thinking, mate? Thinking out loud, what you got? What's going on in your head?
There's 2 people I can think of really, but I think I'm going more with one in my head. There's William O'Connor and Mickey Mansell, but my head is saying William O'Connor.
Is that your final answer?
Yep.
Incorrect.
Whee.
Neil will be proud. Josh, Jordan, any guess? Let's throw it over to our guest. Any guesses? Yeah.
I think Daryl Gurney.
That is correct. You've been outsmarted by a casual armchair fan. How does that make you feel?
Daryl Gurney's Northern Irish.
Listen, I'm copying and pasting from Wikipedia.
I've never trusted Wikipedia.
Anyway, listen, it's wrong. So first one wrong. Question 5, you have mucked up, I'm afraid, Josh. So let's not dwell on it too much. Let's move on to question number 6. He made his PDC World Championship debut at the 2017 event, but only won 2 legs versus Raymond van Barneveld in a 3-0 loss. Did you see the eyebrows go up when I mentioned Raymond van Barneveld? He qualified for the Grand Slam, where he beat James Wade 5-1 before losing to Phil Taylor in a 4-5 reverse and a 5-3 reverse to Peter Machin. He also reached the last 32 stage of the Players' Championship finals.
It's friend of the show, Robbie Green.
Yeah, friend of the show, Robbie Green. Josh, you interviewed him a few episodes ago.
Yeah, I think it was episode 6, I believe. Yep.
Was the Van Barneveld clue pretty handy for you?
It was, but I was trying to think. I was thinking 2017. I was getting confused with it was Richard North but that was 2018. But yeah, good win that for Raymond.
Good. Well, it's a good guess. Well done. That's 5 out of 6 correct so far. Here we go with question number 7. He qualified for the 2017 World Championship through the Pro Tour Order of Merit when Kyle Anderson was forced to withdraw from the event due to being unable to get a UK visa. He won the last 6 legs of his first round encounter with Jamie Caven to defeat him 3-1. He missed a number of doubles in his second round match with Phil Taylor, including 3 to win the third set, and was defeated 4-0.
Kevin Painter.
Yeah, good. Well done. What was the giveaway on that one, Josh?
It was a Phil Taylor. I remember the game because Phil was moaning about Kevin Painter's antics or demeanour on stage after.
Price-like antics.
Not price-like, just miserable-like.
Okay, 7 out of 8. Almost sort of halfway through. Jordan, what are you making of his performance so far?
He's doing quite well. He seems to be getting them on the last sentence.
I'm regretting putting in so much information. I should have just sort of done one-liners,
Can't
really.
be saying the 2017 World Championship. Go along.
Listen, if it was down to me, the question would be, he was born on a Monday, and that's all you get out of me. So
he'd get Barney.
Yeah, consider yourself lucky. Okay, so 7 out of 8 so far, Josh. It's good at the halfway stage. Are you ready for question number 8?
Yep, go for it. Okay,
here we go. His best results in BDO events were winning the Danish Open in 2002. He's just absolutely turned his nose up at the first line. Okay, let's start that again. His best results in BDO events were winning the Danish Open in 2002 and 2006 and reaching the quarterfinals of the BDO World Championship at Frimley Green in 2005, defeating 2004 champion Andy Fordham in the process. He suffered a first-round exit in the 2007 World Championship to unranked qualifier Davy Richardson. It was announced days later that along with Dutchman Jelle Classen and Michael van Gerwen, he would be switching to the PDC.
And Vincent van der Voort.
Yeah, that is correct. Famously, the three Dutchmen all sort of moved around the same time, didn't they, Josh?
Yeah, all three were very good friends at the time, and that's what prompted the switch.
Great walk-on song.
Yeah. I'm not sure he's a fan of it himself, though, is he? I think he's been quite critical before. Right, let's go for question number 9. In the 2000 BDO World Darts Championship, after beating Bob Taylor, Steve Douglas, Kevin Painter and Chris Mason, he whitewashed Ronnie Baxter 6-0 in the final, winning the match with a spectacular 170 checkout. The final lasted only 46 minutes, the shortest in the tournament's history.
My mate, Ted Hankey.
Correct, the Count. Ted Hankey, yes, Ted Hankey's. What a performance that is, 46-minute final.
That is ruthless.
Very, very good from Ted, and sometimes we forget what a wonderful player Ted was. Let's move on to question number 10. PDC World Championship performances. 2015. First round, lost to Robert Thornton 3-0. 2016. Second round, lost to Adrian Lewis 4-0. 2017. Second round, lost to Gary Anderson 4-0.
This is a tougher one.
So 27. Just to be 100% clear, the 2017. So we're not talking about the last World Championship. We're talking about the 2016/17 World Championship.
Yeah, the 2017 World Championship that finished in 2017.
To be a pain, could you repeat the first two?
Okay, here we go. 2015. First round, lost to Robert Thornton 3-0. 2016. Second round, lost to Adrian Lewis 4-0. 2017. Second round, lost to Gary Anderson 4-0.
I think it's Andrew Gilding.
That is an incredible shout.
Very, very good.
I'm impressed with that. I'm impressed with that. Can you talk me through your thought process on that one, Josh?
I just remember being there at the Ali Pali stage side for the.
Oh, brilliant! So I picked a match that you were at. Well done, John.
It was incredible because the whole crowd was singing that song they used to sing, like "Please Don't Take Me Home."
Yeah.
It was quite incredible for about 35 minutes non-stop, and even Gary Anderson was just turning around in awe of it. So I just remember being there.
Right, well, I'm really impressed with that. So a big tick for that one. Okay, let's move on to. He's got 10 right so far, Jordan.
9
out of 10 right, and we move on to question number 11. Born on the 12th of September 1980, he is a professional darts player who began his career participating in the BDO and was the runner-up in their World Championship in 2010. He switched to the PDC a year later and has won 11 Pro Tour events and is probably best known for defeating Phil Taylor in the 2012 World Championship and for his televised 9-dart finish in the 2015 Grand Slam of Darts.
Cheers, Dave Chisnell.
Yeah, Chizzy, well done. I remember that that 9-dart finish in the Grand Slam of darts. Absolutely scintillating, that one.
Brilliant. He gets Peter right, I think.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to question number 12. Jordan, they're going to get harder. Here we go. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Just keep your eye on him. He's going to start sweating profusely. Okay, here we go. Question 12. Born on the 10th of May 1979, he is a professional darts player who won the 2010 Players' Championship Finals, where he defeated Mervyn King in the final. He was also the runner-up to Phil Taylor in the now defunct 2011 Championship League tournament. He was part of an international team which lost a sudden death shootout in the 2012 PDC World Cup of Darts final.
Paul Nicholson.
The Asset, yeah, Paul Nicholson, well done. I think when I was doing my research and it was mentioned the 2011 Championship League tournament, I didn't really know much about that tournament. Josh, you got any insight on that?
Yeah, it used to be quite a weird event. It was almost like a pro tour, but it was kind of counted as a major at the time. They used to be like groups. They used to start off with the top 8 players, all played each other in over the course of one whole day.
Yeah.
So 7 games in a day,
Yeah.
best of 11 legs like the pro tour format. The top 4 went through to the semis, and they had like a semi and a final, and the winner of each, there was 8 groups in total. So the winner, whoever won, then went through to the finals of that, and the people who didn't win kind of went through to the next day, and they brought the next 8 players on the order of merit in. So if you didn't get eliminated, you kind of stayed in. It was a good tournament. I enjoyed it.
Also referencing that question to the 2012 World Cup of Darts final.
One of the most memorable, yeah. They all had
again
darts,
for the wrong reasons.
but they all had darts in that match to win the World Cup, and only Adrian Lewis took it out.
Okay, well done, Josh. Let's move on to question number 13. Unlucky for some, hopefully unlucky for Josh. Here we go.
Thank you, John.
Born, I don't know why I keep giving you the dates. I don't know how up to date.
It doesn't really help me that much.
The only date of birth you know is Barney's. Okay, here we go. Born 5th of May 1962 in Stockport, England. He is an English professional darts player who comes to the stage dancing to the Madness song One Step Beyond, wearing sunglasses. It is one of the most popular walk-ons with the audience, and before embarking on a career in darts, he worked as an undertaker.
Didn't know that last bit. Daryl Fitton.
I didn't know Fitton worked as an undertaker. 12 out of 13 so far. Let's move on to the penultimate question, number 14. Here we go. Having made his Lakeside debut in 1994 at the age of 37, he failed to progress beyond the semi-finals of the World Championship until 2005, when he reached the final at his 12th attempt. He beat Davy Richardson 3-2, John Henderson 3-2, Ted Hankey 5-3, and Simon Whitlock 5-0 before losing 6-2 in the final.
2005 final, you say?
That's correct, the 2005 final.
Oh.
Do you want me to read the full question again?
No, I'm just trying to work it. You said 1994 at the age of 37, is that right?
Why don't I read the full question again? Because you're making me look at particular parts of the question. Have a listen up, all right? Hang on. Question 14. He's infuriating sometimes. I apologise, Jordan, that you have to be put through this. Question 14. Having made his Lakeside debut in 1994 at the age of 37, he failed to progress beyond the semi-finals of the World Championship until 2005, when he reached the final at the 12th attempt.
Oh, I think I know this.
He beat Davy Richardson 3-2, John Henderson 3-2, Ted Hankey 5-3, and Simon Whitlock 5-0 before losing 6-2 in the final.
I think it's Martin Adams, and I think he lost to Barney in the final.
If I'm honest, I'm disappointed it took you that long to work that out, because as soon as I mentioned the 2005 BDO final, I thought you'd get it immediately, with obviously Barney being the victor.
Yeah, although you have to remember, I didn't actually watch that final live.
That's not good enough. I never saw Chuck Berry play live, but he's one of my idols. I never saw Elvis Presley play live, but he's one of my idols.
Yeah, but did you know what time they did a concert in 1978?
No,
you
fair
know
comment.
Barney's date of birth, so you should know a lot
He knows his date of
about
birth,
him.
he knows how tall he is, he knows everything about Barney. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Well done, Josh. Wolfie was the answer. Okay, last question. So you've only got one wrong so far. Mm-hmm. I need to trip him up on this last one. Let's see how he gets on. Question number 15. Here we go. Question 15. A former world number one, he competed in the BDO from 1988 to 2001 and the PDC from from 2002 to the current day, and is currently ranked as the world's number 109.
We looked at the PDC Order of Merit earlier, so you should know this.
We didn't scroll through 109, unfortunately.
I look at all of them because I'm not an elitist.
Go on then, John.
I couldn't name them.
Please recite them.
Okay, let's read that again. Question 15. A former world number 1, he competed in the BDO from 98 to 2001 and the PDC from 2002 to the current day, and is currently ranked as the world's number 109.
It's a tough one. It's a very tough one, that. I'm going to take a punt at Ronnie Baxter. Oh!
Correct.
What a shout.
That's impressive. What made you lean towards Ronnie?
Because I was just thinking, like Jordan said, we were looking for John Part earlier, and he was 97.
Yeah.
And Ronnie still holds the tour card, but barely plays any of the tour events, so I was just guessing.
Yeah.
And I know he did well in the BDO, so I thought he might be number 1.
Well, I'm very impressed with that. The last answer there is absolutely cracking. That's really impressive. Jordan, 14 out of 15. What do you make of Josh's performance?
It's a very good effort. I think he should have got the one he got wrong. I think that was...
I should have...
And he's going to blame it on the technicality with the Irish thing, isn't he?
I don't blame you, because you didn't say... but I was just thinking, when you said Irish, for some reason, I was just trying to think of all the players who play for Republic of Ireland. And I think with Gurney, because he's world number 5... I don't think we associate with him. He's still relatively new to the top level. If you think about it, he made his debut 2014, but because he's so established now, it didn't occur to me that he'd be making his debut then.
Well, I had to throw in at least one curveball, because if I didn't, when Neil comes back, my life wouldn't have been worth living, would it? So, 14 out of 15. I think it's a good performance, Josh, and congratulations, Neil. If you're listening, I'll throw it back over to you for the next episode, and I look forward to you reducing Josh to more of a quivering wreck than I ever could. So, Josh, well done, and look forward to next time.
Thanks, John.
Challenge Josh.
Hi, it's Adrian Lewis, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry podcast.
Okay, then it's time to round up the rest of the news from the darting world.
The news.
Right, Josh, for me there's only one place we can start in the news this week. Fartgate.
It's taken the world of darts by storm. I saw it on BBC Sports, Sky News, everywhere. Yep, Fartgate between Gary Anderson and Wesley Harms at the Grand Slam of Darts. Last 16 game, Gary won it 10-2, but the controversy after was surrounding the hot air that was not spoken, but apparently
well
passed
put, Josh.
on
Well
stage.
put.
It was a fantastic interview with Gary Anderson on Dutch TV RTL7, where I think the Dutch presenter asked Gary, I think he suggested to Gary that Wesley Harms thought Gary had passed wind on stage, but I think it's fair to say Gary emphatically denied those accusations and actually thought it was Wesley.
He swore on his kid's life, no less.
He did, yeah. He was quite insistent, wasn't he?
Well, do you know, part of the funniest thing for me, you mentioned the interview on television was they panned back to the studio for half of the interview, and Roland Shelton is absolutely rolling up.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, it's amazing, really, that I always moan about there's not enough darting coverage on like the BBC and Sky News or whatever, and then it's that story.
It takes someone breaking wind for them to get mainstream coverage. I don't think I've ever seen anything, quite the like of it in world darts. A story of somebody breaking wind and putting another player off. But I think, Josh, a couple of days after the tournament, I think we might have found the culprit.
Yeah, I think apparently Dutch TV have now discovered that a security guard has owned up to it. Obviously, I suppose it makes sense where the players are walking back. Obviously, the security are facing the crowd,
yeah.
So they're quite near the players. But It was quite funny. I was reading the BBC Sport article and they said they'd contacted Russ Bray but he'd refused to comment. Because obviously he was the referee in question during the game.
Jordan, have you ever found yourself in the sporting arena and been interrupted by a potent gas?
Well, as a cricketer, I think when we've all been standing...
Oh, yeah.
When we've all been standing in the slips, I think it's common practice to let one off and blame it on someone else. But
especially with 7 slips.
Anyway, yeah, listen, that's obviously one of the lighter-hearted stories that's been doing the rounds on social media this week. So, hopefully it didn't affect the players too much. But Gary Anderson, I think it was more his accent in the interview that absolutely cracks me up, describing it as rotten eggs. And, Gary's obviously Scottish accent really made me laugh at that interview. Let's move on, guys. Josh, we've got news regarding the PDC World Championship, the ladies. Talk to me about that.
Yep, as we know this year, the World Championship will feature 2 women. The expansion to 96 players has allowed for 2 qualifiers to take place. They had the rest of the world women's qualifier in Dusseldorf last Saturday. And a familiar face came through, Anastasia Dobromislova, the 3-time women's world champion. She was only one of 2 women to have featured in the PDC World Championship back in 2009, and she'll be making her return this year. She stormed through qualification, dropping just 4 legs across her matches.
Anastasia, who famously tore down the tungsten iron curtain, Josh.
Yes, thank you for reminding me of that, John. But no, listen, she's a fantastic player. She featured at the Grand Slam a few years ago, beat Vincent van der Voort, if you remember. Took Waymard all the way to a decider. I think she could do a little bit of damage, so it's great to see her back. Yeah,
really pleased for Anastasia to make her way into the Worlds at Ali Pali this year, and looking forward to seeing how she gets on. Josh, we've also got some news regarding the BDO Czech Open titles.
Yep, and the BDO had their Czech Open last weekend. Karel Sedlacek, home favourite, came through and won. He's made his PDC World Cup of Darts appearance this year for the Czech Republic. Also featured on the European Tour, becoming the first Czech person to do so. He's a talented player, really good for him to win his home event. And in the women's section, Lorraine Winstanley defeated Lisa Ashton in the final. We'll be seeing both of those two in the women's qualifier for the UK version in Milton Keynes this weekend, because they'll both be trying to qualify for the PDC World Championship and join Anastasia.
Excellent stuff. So, congratulations to Sedlacek and Winstanley on their wins. Finally, Josh, I think we've also got some more news about PDC World Champ qualifiers.
Yep, there's been so many qualifiers happening around the world, and the latest qualifier was the African qualifier. And it's another familiar face making his return to the Ali Pali, dancing Devon Peterson. He defeated Nolan Lorenzi from South Africa 7-2 in the final. So Devon's going to be returning to the Ali Pali stage, which is brilliant news, because he's really committed. He's had a difficult time with his throw, his action, his forms. He's kind of dwindled a little bit, but he's moved over to Bradford, I believe, near Joe Cullen, his best friend. They've relocated to really focus on his darts, and he's reaping the rewards there with a return to the Ali Pali.
Jordan, who is your favourite darting dancer on the circuit?
Well, I said it earlier, I always bet on him, and he never comes up trumps normally, but I do love a bit of Peter Wright. He's eccentric, and he's always got a new hairstyle, which I've got time for.
I love the fact that Pete comes on stage dancing, but I do think he's got to the stage now where he perhaps needs to sort of throw in a different couple of moves. Do you know what I mean? Maybe like a heel kick or a toe tap or a moonwalk or something, just to freshen things up, Josh.
It's quite funny, really. At the Grand Slam of darts in the group stage, the players don't have their individual walk-ons because obviously it overruns, so they come onto a joint tune.
Yeah.
And Peter Wright in his last game came on to Highway to Hell and still bounced around the stage, which was very good.
I'm going to throw it out there. I'm quite a fan of Dimitri at the moment.
He's got good moves.
Oh, he's got a really good sort of quick step shuffle that goes on stage. I'm quite impressed by that. Obviously, we've had Mardle over the years. He's a particular
Peter Manley with his Amarillo. That was always
Peter Manley with his Amarillo. Any other dancers that we're omitting from
what about
walk-ons?
Jerry Hendricks? Remember the Dutchman at the World Championships the other year? He said he felt like a fish on the stage.
Oh yeah.
Free from desire. He went mental.
Remember that.
That was very funny.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, we do like our dancing darts players here on the JDP. So congratulations to Peterson, and of course we look forward to his appearance in the PDC World Championship.
The news.
You're listening to Josh's Dartistry, Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook by going to the Josh's Dartistry page. You can follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry, or go to the website www.joshsdartistry.com for all the latest news and insight into the world of darts. You can also leave us a comment or a question via our voicemail box. Just call 07739 738 329 and leave us a message, and we may play it live on air. Now back to the show.
Okay, Josh, Jordan, we're nearly at the end of the show, but as is traditional, we always like to finish with answering some questions from some of the listeners that have come in from Twitter. Right then, gentlemen, let's see what we've got. Obviously, there's been a hell of a lot of talk this week regarding the antics on stage between Gerwyn Price and Gary Anderson. So let's open up with a question surrounding that. Adrian Lee on Twitter has been in touch, and he asked, should darts bring in a yellow card type system or penalty points when players behave like the despicable, his words not mine, Price last night? Total lack of class and poor attempt at gamesmanship. Josh, what do you make of that?
A yellow card from I'm not quite sure. I agree with Adrian to the extent that we should try and combat gamesmanship as best we could, but I think a yellow card system will be quite impractical, because where would that leave you in terms of, I don't understand. What happens if you get a red card? You get sent off from the game, presumably. You forfeit the game. I think it's a bit...
And a lot of the decisions would be...
very subjective as
well.
And
interpreted in different ways by different people. We see it in other sports all the time, and it's very hard to sort of nail down into particular categories what warrants a yellow card, a red card, or whatever punishment it may be.
I think that I read an article on BBC Sport, I think Barry Hearn had been discussing today, that darts may look at bringing in sort of like new codes of conduct, and maybe, they might get a warning if they repeat the offence. They could even forfeit a leg. That maybe a score punishment will be more practical than like a yellow card sort of system that you use in football or rugby.
Jordan, I think we'll probably hear more on this in the next sort of 2 or 3 days from the DRA, really, about what they're going to do going forward, if there's going to be any punishments for the behaviour in the final, and also what they're going to do about any bad behaviour going forward.
Yeah, I think that's the case. In my point of view, I think that they could use like the demerit system that they use in cricket, where you get a demerit for disruptive behaviour. When you get to a certain amount, then like you get fined and you miss a tournament or something, like a pro tour event.
Yeah. Josh, is it something that needs to be looked at? I mean, is there that level of, frequency with incidents like this occurring, or are we just, I don't know, getting in a little bit of a huff and a puff about an isolated incident that you don't really see too much?
Yeah, I see both points of view personally. I don't think that this sort of incident between Gerwyn Price and Gary Anderson is commonplace. I think that's why we're all talking about it so much, because we don't often see it. And I think it's difficult, because where do you draw the line? Because by over-celebrating, Gerwyn Price hasn't broken any rules. Maybe it was a little bit disrespectful to Gary, maybe a little bit over the top, but he hasn't broken any rules by celebrating, so it's like, where do you draw the line? It's quite subjective.
Josh, I know we've had a few incidents in previous years on a few tournaments in the round with sort of players getting fined for certain pieces of bad behaviour. Our interviewee earlier, Adrian Lewis, obviously had a bit of a run-in at one of the tournaments recently, and that sort of resulted in, I think he got a fine or
I think it's suspended. Yeah.
So there are sort of rules and regulations in place to deal with that kind of thing. So is it really something that needs looking at? I don't know.
Yeah, I think we've all got a little bit het up over the situation. Of course, emotions run high in a final, and I think we don't want to see gamesmanship to the extent maybe we saw it on Sunday's final. But no, I don't think these sort of incidents are commonplace, really.
Okay, let's move on. Lockup Dave, whose Twitter handle is @LockupTipster, he asks, do you think Michael van Gerwen will be toppled from top spot in the next 2 years? Jordan, I'm going to throw this over to you.
Personally, no, I don't think so. I think he's been not as great as he has been in previous years. He's been a bit off form, but he's still miles ahead in the PDC order of merit, and I can only see him winning more titles. I can't really see him dropping off too much.
Yeah, fair. Josh?
Yeah, I agree with Jordan, really. I mean, even though Michael in the majors this year has only won 3 major titles, I think, he's still won 18 titles in total in the PDC, which is miles more than any other player. Like Jordan said, he's got nearly a £1 million buffer on the order of merit. He's so far ahead of anyone else. He's got age on his side. I can't see him going anywhere, and I still think he'll be world number 1 for many years to come.
Yeah, I think you both make fair points for Michael retaining that spot, and I think I'd probably agree with both of you. Moving on, Ben, whose Twitter handle is @BenOnSport, he asks, how far can Anastasia Dobromyslova go at Alexandra Palace, and who for you comes through the UK and Ireland qualifier this weekend, Josh?
I think Anastasia's got the potential to go a few rounds. I mean, it's difficult to tell. Obviously, we don't know the draw yet, but she will play one of the non-seeded players in the first round. So she can't face a Michael van Gerwen and Gary Anderson in an opening match. She's definitely got the game to give a lot of the men the trouble. I mean, I saw her at the Lakeside last year, average about 90 for a good 2 or 3 sets. And if she can produce that form, she can give anyone a game.
Yeah, and she's an experienced player. She's been around for a long, long time. Obviously,
She won't be phased.
No, of course not. She plies her trade regularly in the BDO and has done for a number of years. Listen, I'm not saying that she's going to set the world on fire and get all the way through to the final, but I certainly don't expect her to disgrace herself. Let's move on. Tungsten Darts, at Tungsten Darts on Twitter. They ask, World Youth Final coming up. Do you think it's fair for Pro Tour players to play on the Youth Tour? How old do you think the cut-off should be? Is 24 too old? Josh, I'm not going to pretend I know a lot about this subject, so I'm going to throw it over to you.
I think this is in reference to the fact that Dimitri van den Berg is in the World Youth Final. Although Dimitri's still only young, like say 24, he's quite an established name on the PDC circuit now. Hopefully he reached the World Championship semis last year.
Yeah.
Sorry, World Championship quarters last year.
Yeah.
Hopefully a World Series final in the German Masters this year. So he's a quality operator. But no, I can see his point because obviously 24, he's quite an established force now in the world of darts. But you look at Michael van Gerwen. Obviously, when he came over from the BDO at the age of 17, he'd won the World Masters, but he struggled early on in the PDC, and it was winning these tour events, these development tours, that got him the confidence and saw him become the force he is. So I think it's positive for the youngsters if they're struggling on the PDC circuit to have the experience on the youth tour to try and gain confidence. But I think there's got to be a limit. But I think 24 in darts terms is still relatively young. A lot of players, Phil Taylor didn't start playing until he was in his 20s. So no, I think the system's is fair as it is at the moment.
Josh, when's the Youth World Championships taking place, and when's the final?
Exactly in mine here during the Players' Championship finals. It'll be on finals night on the Sunday. After the 2 semi-finals have been played, in between the final, they'll hold that. So it's Van den Berg against Martin Schindler. Hopefully Van den Berg looking to become the first ever player to win it back-to-back. But Schindler, very good player.
Okay, moving on. Helen Ward has been in contact on Twitter. She asks, and I think this is probably harking back to the Grand Slam of Darts final, what's the referee's official role? Should he have intervened in the Price v Ando situation? Again, I'm not going to pretend I know the exact role of the officials and whether they should or shouldn't have, whether it's in their remit to get involved, Josh.
You have to admit, I don't know the exact rules on this. We saw Russ Bray in the quarterfinals between Gerwyn Price and Simon Whitlock. Russ Bray had a little word with Price, I think, during the interval, about 10-all. Just to maybe say to tone down the celebrations a little bit because it was becoming quite tense up there. But I mean, Paul Hinks, it's very difficult because what do you say if you try and tell a player to stop celebrating, it has a bad effect on their game. They end up losing the game. They could blame the referee for putting them off. So I must admit, I don't know the exact rules, but it's a difficult one for the referee to try and manage that.
Jordan, thoughts? Would you like to see the referees given the power to intervene in that kind of situation, or do we wait until the match is over and let the authorities deal with it?
I think we let the authorities deal with it because you don't want disrupting the play, disrupting the rhythm of the game. It just brings the game into a bit of a farce and it makes it more of a drama than it needs to be. We want the darts to do the talking ultimately. You don't want to stop for a referee.
Yeah, and I think the officials in the match have obviously got their jobs to do, and you know,
and they're all very experienced.
Yeah, of course they are. I don't really want to burden them with other stuff. They probably have to go on all manner of training courses and HR and PR and dealing with aggressive behaviour and health and safety and all that kind of nonsense. So yeah, I think leave it till after the match and let the authorities deal with it. Okay, Reece Cleland, friend of the show, has been in touch at Reece Cleland on Twitter. He asks, do you think Raymond van Barneveld's retirement announcement secures his place in the Premier League, even after a year that probably doesn't warrant it? I know we've touched on Barney a lot, particularly at the top of the show, but let's get back into this. Barney's retirement announcement. Jordan, do you think that secures his place in the Premier League, and should it?
I think it probably does, purely from the point of view that Sky will want to give him a farewell tour in the Premier League as a previous winner. He brings in major fans, and the 10,000 in Rotterdam, as previously mentioned, is going to be a huge draw. And if Barney's not there, then it kind of loses the effect a bit, the appeal. And because this is his last time, I think they will. But personally, I don't really think it's deserved. I think you could name about 9 players above him this year that have performed quite well. And so there's only really one space. It depends what Sky wants to do, but ultimately Barney brings in the money, so you can see why.
I think a lot is dependent on who's answering this question from, a darting purist's point of view, who wants to see the cream of the darts from the last 12 months getting their opportunity and partaking. But then, the maybe the sort of more casual fan, as well as the broadcaster and the tournament organisers themselves, would want to make sure that somebody with the fairy tale story that Barney's got behind him is playing in that tournament and drawing as many eyes onto the product as possible. Josh?
Yeah, I think in answer to Reese's question, I think Raymond, he's got a good chance of making the Premier League now.
Yeah.
I think they will want to give him that farewell tour. I think he does deserve it for what he's done, what he's given for darts and the PDC. I think it's very competitive.
Let's have it right.
this
The
year.
Premier League, I know it's stretched out over a number of weeks, but it's only one tournament. We are going to see him across, hopefully, as many tournaments as possible. I know he doesn't go in for all of them, but we're not going to be starved of Barney next year if he doesn't make the Premier League.
We say that. I have to say, it's not a cut and dry because he's 16th in the world at the moment. If he doesn't have the best of worlds, he could fall out the top 16, which means then he'd have to be on the top 16 of the Pro Tour Order of Merit to qualify. And as we know, he doesn't often play the Pro Tour much, Raymond, now. So his qualification for these tournaments is not guaranteed. So the Premier League is probably the best stage to give him his farewell tour. I don't think he's guaranteed. I think he's got a good chance, but I think there's a lot of players who are making a case. Obviously, you've got the top 4 automatics. You've got people like Price and Wade who have won on the PDC Tour, won major titles this year, so it's going to be very competitive. I personally wonder if they're going to try and extend the field to maybe 12 players. This is only speculation. Whether it's feasible to make it to 12, I don't know. It might run on too long. They might not be able to have 6 games in a night, but that'll be something I think will be interesting because at the moment, I think it's difficult to leave. I'm looking at one person who might be under threat as Daryl Gurney. He's a world number 5, which seems ridiculous that he could potentially miss out, but he hasn't had the best of years in terms of majors. I'm not saying he deserves to miss out, but he could be one, maybe, that is the full guy if Raymond gets his spot. But I think for what he's given to darts and the appeal he has, and he's got a very good record in the Premier League, Barney. He's never been eliminated, whereas a lot of other players have. So I'd like to see him in there. I think he's a big stage player. The schedule, I think he struggles with multiple games in a day, which the Premier League isn't. So I think he'd be a good draw for the Premier League. I'd like to see him in there.
Yeah.
I'm biased. I admit that.
For sure. Well, there's only one thing that's for sure. We won't find out until the conclusion of the Worlds. I think on finals night they normally do the announcement, don't they, straight after the final and let us all know. So we sit with bated breath, eagerly anticipating the announcement. And listen, we don't make the decision. The people in positions of responsibility and the broadcasters do. So we'll see what happens with that one. Okay, that concludes the Q&A section of the show. As always, thank you so much for getting in touch, guys. We can't do the Q&A at the end without you. So do continue sending your questions in. We love answering them. You can contact us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry. You can also contact us on Facebook. And you can also, don't forget to check out Josh's website, www.joshisdartistry.com. Okay, Josh, Jordan, that brings us to the end of the show. As ever, a big thank you to you, the JDP listener, for taking the time to download the podcast. We do the podcast for you guys. We hope you enjoy it. Hope you've enjoyed this episode and everything we've brought to you. Of course, big thank you to Adrian Lewis for taking the time to come and speak to Josh and give us an interview. You're always welcome on the JDP, Adrian. Jordan, guest host. Enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been good fun.
Excellent stuff. So we've got our ready-made replacement if Neil ever decides to call it a day, or in fact we decide to sack him, Josh.
It's always good to have an option up our sleeve, John. Keep Neil on his toes.
Excellent. Josh, I thought it was a good show today. Plenty in the show.
Yeah, probably one of our most packed yet. So many talking points, lots of controversy, and awfully great to have Adrian on the show.
Hopefully we will be recording a show at some point between the end of the Players' Championships and the beginning of the Worlds, I would imagine, Josh.
Yep, the World starts on December the 13th, so I'm sure we'll have a preview, a bit of a podcast before then.
Excellent stuff. Well, I look forward to that. As ever, Josh, thank you for your time.
Many thanks, John.
Jordan, thank you.
Thank you.
And from myself, thank you.
Josh's Dartistry.